The church smelled of polished wood and roses, sunlight streaming through stained glass, casting colorful patterns across the pews. Michael's hands shook slightly as he adjusted his tie. Today was supposed to be perfect, his wedding day. His fiancée, Vanessa, was radiant in white, chatting softly with her bridesmaids, completely unaware of the storm about to hit. From the back pew, 9-year-old Jayden shifted nervously. He had a secret he couldn't ignore. For weeks he had been suspicious of Vanessa. Strange phone calls, whispered arguments, and late-night research online had uncovered something he couldn't unsee. Something that belonged in the light before vows were exchanged. As the organ played the prelude, Michael smiled at Vanessa, unaware of the tension building behind him. Jayden tugged at his mother's sleeve. She had insisted he come early, sit quietly, and behave. But Jayden's chest felt heavy. His father was about to make the biggest mistake of his life, and no one knew. The officiant approached the altar. "Welcome, friends and family, to the union of Michael and Vanessa." Jayden stood abruptly, eyes wide, voice trembling but loud enough for everyone to hear. "Stop. Stop the wedding." The congregation gasped. The bridesmaids froze, the groomsmen stared, and Vanessa's smile faltered. Michael blinked, confusion flashing across his face. "Jayden, what are you doing?" "I know who she really is," Jayden yelled, pointing at Vanessa. "Not telling the truth." Whispers erupted throughout the church. Vanessa's face drained of color. "Shh, Jayden, you don't know what you're saying," she cried. "I do," Jayden insisted. He held up his tablet. On the screen were emails, photos, and social media messages. "You've been lying to Dad. You've been stealing from your ex-employer. And you've been hiding it from him this whole time." Michael's jaw dropped. His eyes darted between Vanessa and Jayden. "What? How?" Vanessa opened her mouth to speak, but Jayden pressed on. "And that's not all. You're not divorced from your last fiancé yet. He's still trying to serve you with papers. Dad, I couldn't let you marry her without knowing." The crowd murmured, shocked. Some looked at Jayden with admiration for speaking the truth. Others whispered about scandal and betrayal. The officiant cleared his throat nervously, unsure how to proceed. Michael took a shaky step toward Vanessa. "Is this true?" His voice was low, disbelief and pain mixing. Vanessa's eyes darted around, realizing her carefully hidden past had been exposed. "Michael, it's not what you think," Jayden interrupted, holding up a printout. "It is. Look at this. Emails, court documents, photos, everything." Michael's hands clenched. Heat rushed to his face. His dream wedding had transformed into a nightmare in seconds. He couldn't believe he had almost walked down the aisle blind to this. "Vanessa," he started, then paused, his voice breaking. "I need help. I need to call someone." He pulled out his phone. 911. His voice shook with urgency. "This is Michael Sanders. I need police assistance at the church. My fiancé has been hiding criminal activity, and my child just exposed it. Please hurry." The wedding guests froze as the gravity of the situation sank in. Phones were raised, some capturing the chaos. Vanessa, realizing her control had vanished, glanced desperately at her friends. "Michael, wait, you don't understand." But it was too late. Jayden's words had pierced the veil of deception. Michael's hands tightened around his phone, feeling both fury and relief. Fury for the betrayal, relief that his son had spoken up before it was too late. Outside, sirens wailed in the distance. Inside, a 9-year-old boy stood proud, knowing he had stopped something terrible before it started. And Michael, staring at the fiancée he almost married, realized that today had turned into a moment no one would forget, an entire lifetime of secrets exposed in an instant. Minutes felt like hours as the church buzzed with chaos. Guests whispered nervously, some stepping back in shock, others trying to calm the rising tension. Jayden sat stiffly on the pew, clutching his tablet like a shield, his small hands trembling, but his eyes steady. He had done what he felt was right. He had protected his father, but he didn't know what would happen next. Michael's mind raced. He felt a mix of disbelief, anger, and gratitude. His son had just saved him from a catastrophic mistake. He looked at Vanessa, who was pale, her hands twisting in her lap. "Vanessa, tell me the truth," he demanded, voice tight. "Everything Jayden said, is it true?" Vanessa's lips quivered. "That's all I can explain. I didn't mean for anyone to get hurt. Made mistakes. Yes, but I love you. I only wanted a fresh start." Michael shook his head, a bitter laugh escaping him. "Fresh start. You hid your crimes, your legal troubles, and your past marriages from me, and from my family. Jayden uncovered it all. Vanessa's eyes darted around, desperate, calculating. You don't understand, I was trying to protect my reputation, my company. I thought if you knew, you'd never forgive me. Protect your reputation? Michael snapped, the hurt in his voice echoing in the cathedral-like hall. You're talking about protecting yourself while lying to everyone else? You almost tricked me into marrying you. Jayden tugged at his father's sleeve. Dad, she's dangerous. I didn't want you to get hurt. Michael crouched to meet his son's eyes. You did the right thing, Jayden. You saved me, and I promise nothing will happen to us because of what you did. At that moment, the distant wail of sirens grew louder. Police cars were arriving, just as Michael had called 911. Officers entered the church, scanning the crowd and approaching the main aisle. Michael motioned toward Vanessa. She needs to explain everything to them. Vanessa's facade cracked. She realized there was no more escaping, no more manipulation. Officers asked her to step aside for questioning, and she obeyed reluctantly, muttering under her breath about misunderstandings. The guests murmured among themselves. Some applauded Michael's decision to call authorities. Others whispered about Jayden's bravery. A few cousins approached the father and son, patting Michael on the back. You're lucky your boy spoke up, one said quietly. Outside, the sky had begun to darken, an ominous echo to the storm of revelations inside. Jayden clung to his father's hand, relief flooding him now that the police were handling the situation. Dad, are we safe? Michael smiled, kneeling to Jayden's level. We're safe, buddy. You did exactly what needed to be done. You're braver than you realize. Inside, Vanessa faced the officers, her polished confidence gone. She explained her past misdeeds, the legal battles, and her secrets that had almost ensnared Michael. Every lie she had hidden came to light under questioning, while Michael and Jayden watched from a distance, absorbing the weight of her deception. By the time officers finished their initial statements, the church felt strangely quiet, almost hollow. The wedding, which was supposed to be the happiest day of Michael's life, had become a life lesson in trust, vigilance, and courage. Jayden rested his head against his father's arm. Dad, I'm glad I stopped it. Michael kissed his son's forehead. Me too, Jayden. Me too. You've got a strong heart and a sharp mind. That's what kept us safe today. I'm proud of you. Outside, the sirens faded as Vanessa was escorted to a waiting police vehicle. Michael and Jayden walked together to the car, hand in hand. The day had been far from what anyone expected, but in the chaos, Michael realized something profound. Honesty, bravery, and listening to your instincts could protect a family more than any perfect wedding ever could. The days after the failed wedding were a blur of legal appointments, phone calls, and interviews. Michael stayed close to Jayden, ensuring his son didn't feel overwhelmed by the sudden attention. News of the scandalous incident had leaked, some guests had taken videos, and social media buzzed with the story. Boy stops dad's wedding, exposes fiancé's dark secrets. Despite the chaos, Michael felt a quiet sense of relief. He had been blind to Vanessa's deception, but Jayden's courage had prevented a disaster. The father-son bond, already strong, deepened with every conversation. One afternoon, Michael received a call from the police detective handling Vanessa's case. Mr. Sanders, the officer said, we've discovered more fraudulent activity linked to your fiancée. Fortunately, because of Jayden's intervention, you weren't implicated. We'll need your statement in the next few days, but you're not under investigation. Michael exhaled deeply. I can't. And thank my son, please. He saved me from a lot of trouble, will do, the officer replied. Later that evening, Michael and Jayden sat together on the couch, reviewing the day's events. Jayden clutched his tablet, still glowing with screenshots of Vanessa's emails and hidden transactions. You know, Michael said softly, some kids might have stayed quiet. You spoke up even though it was scary. You did the right thing. Jayden shrugged, looking serious. I didn't want you to get hurt, and I knew something felt off. I just had to say something. Michael smiled, pulling his son close. You've got instincts, Jayden, a sharp mind. I couldn't be prouder. And one day, that bravery will help a lot of people. The following week, Vanessa's arrest and pending charges became public. News outlets ran stories about the boy who stopped a wedding, with interviews from some of the attendees praising Jayden's courage. Michael received messages from relatives and friends, all congratulating him, but he redirected their praise to his son. Jayden deserves this recognition, he said to a cousin over the phone. Without him, everything could have gone wrong. At school, Jayden became a quiet hero. Teachers praised his honesty, friends asked questions, and though he was overwhelmed, he handled it with maturity beyond his age. Michael watched with pride. His son hadn't just prevented a wedding, it prevented a disaster and inspired others to speak up when something felt wrong. Meanwhile, Michael began the process of moving on. The wedding that was never meant to be became a turning point. He focused on Jayden, work, and rebuilding trust in his life. Realized that a future built on honesty even when painful was far more valuable than a perfect ceremony built on lies. One evening, as they walked home from dinner, Jayden looked up at his father. "Dad, do you think we'll be okay?" Michael smiled, ruffling his son's hair. "We will, and it's all because of you.
Yeah.
You showed me that bravery and honesty matter more than appearances. They'll be stronger because of it." Jayden beamed. "Good. I don't ever want to see someone tricking Dad again." Michael laughed softly, a weight lifted from his chest. "Neither do I, buddy. Neither do I." As they approached their apartment building, Michael felt a sense of closure. The wedding might have been stopped, the fiancé exposed, and the world's attention fleetingly fixed on their lives, but the lesson was permanent. Trust instincts, speak the truth, and protect those you love. Jayden had done all three, and together, they were ready to face whatever came next. Weeks later, Michael and Jayden settled back into a quieter routine. But life had changed in ways they hadn't anticipated. The failed wedding, Vanessa's arrest, and the media attention had left its mark, yet it had also strengthened their bond. Michael no longer took anything for granted. He watched his son closely, listened more carefully, and trusted his instincts like never before. Jayden, for his part, carried himself with newfound confidence. Teachers and friends admired his courage, and though he didn't brag, he felt proud. He knew he had done something important, something that had protected his father from a dangerous situation. One evening, Michael sat at the kitchen table reviewing work emails when Jayden came bounding in with a crumpled notebook. "Dad, look at this," he exclaimed. Michael looked up, tired but smiling. "What is it, champ?" Jayden spread out the notebook filled with scribbled notes, diagrams, and observations about how people solve problems. "I've been writing ways to spot lies and protect people. Like I did with Vanessa." Michael felt his chest tighten with pride. "Jayden, this is incredible. You're thinking about things most adults don't even consider." Jayden grinned. "I want to help people, Dad." "Just like we did," Michael nodded. "And you will, son. You've got a sharp mind and a brave heart. Never let that go." The days passed with a new rhythm. Michael focused on work, ensuring that his life and Jayden's remained stable. They laughed more, talked more, and built a trust that could weather anything. The incident with Vanessa had been a trial, but it had also been a lesson: honesty. Vigilance and courage were more powerful than appearances or wealth. One afternoon, Michael received a call from one of the relatives who had attended the wedding. "Michael, you should be proud," the voice said. "Your son did something remarkable. Everyone's talking about it." Michael smiled and replied, "I am proud. But I don't take credit. Jayden deserves all of it." The next day, as they walked through the park, Michael spotted another father with a young child nearby. The boy was hesitant to speak up about something he had witnessed, and Michael felt a pang of recognition. He knelt beside Jayden. "Remember how brave you were, son. It's not easy to do the right thing, but you have to try no matter what." Jayden nodded solemnly. "I remember, Dad. I won't forget." At home, they framed a photo from the day of the stopped wedding, not of the chaos, but of Jayden standing tall, holding his tablet. It was a reminder that courage, honesty, and speaking up mattered more than any ceremony, any celebration, or any wealth. In the weeks that followed, Michael slowly began to consider the future. He knew he wouldn't rush into another relationship, but he also realized that trust, through actions and not appearances, was the only foundation worth building upon. One night, as he tucked Jayden into bed, the boy looked up with serious eyes. "Dad, do you think other people will be like Vanessa?" Michael kissed his forehead gently. "Some might try, son, but we've learned how to see through it, and we'll always act when it matters. That's what counts." Jayden smiled, snuggling under the blanket. "I like that." Michael turned off the light and watched his son breathe peacefully. The storm of the past weeks had passed. The wedding had been stopped, the fiancé exposed, and justice had taken its course. What remained was a family stronger than ever, bound by trust, courage, and love. And Michael knew, no matter what challenges came next, they would face them together, always listening, always brave, and always ready to protect each other. The boy who had stopped a wedding had not only saved his father, he had changed both their lives forever.